The first thing that this deck really lacks is a consistent starter. So I would throw in either one Cluffer or one Menamphy to shuffle your hand up a little bit, and possibly one Tyrogue so you have the chance to get the donk on your opponent. Once you get a few Pokemon on the field, that's when you go to the Celebi Prime so you can start attaching a few more energy per turn. You have two main attackers in this deck, but I think your first attacker is probably going to be your Torterra. Torterra is a pretty strong Pokemon with an HP of 140. Giga Drain has a base damage of 40, but then heals any damage off of itself equal to the amount of damage that it put out. So if you're utilizing your plus power and doing 50 or 60 per turn, you automatically get to heal that off. That makes Torterra a pretty strong tank, and hopefully able to last quite a while. Land Crush is also pretty strong, taking 4 energy but doing a solid 80. I might recommend increasing this to a 3-2-3 line since it's one of your main attackers. Your other attackers are a 3-3 line of Lanturn, with the Lanturn being split with 2 prime and 1 rare. I would recommend reducing this to a 2-2 line of just Lanturn Prime and focus more on that Torterra. I would recommend focusing on Torterra as your main attacker, but then once you have a few energy on Torterra, focus on spreading the energy out around your field so that you can hit with Lanturn. Lanturn Prime does 40 plus 10 more for each energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So if you have 1 or 2 other Torterras set up on the bench ready to go, a little bit of energy on Lanturn, that's really going to hit hard. Your other Pokemon in this deck is a 3-1 3-line Meganium split between the Prime and the Rare. I would decrease this to a 2-1-2 line of Meganium Prime so that you can rearrange the grass energy on your field in any way that you like. The other Meganium just isn't as strong an attacker as your Torterra or your Lanturn, so I would focus on Meganium being more of a tech than an attacker. Your line of energy is pretty good, but maybe a bit on the high side at 16 for a deck like this. You run 3 lightning energy in the deck to ensure that you'll be able to attack with Lanturn, 3 DCE, which does twice the amount of damage as a normal energy card because of Lanturn, a grass energy since this is primarily a grass deck, and 2 rainbow energy so that you could possibly use the rainbow as a psychic for Celebi Prime. I would recommend increasing your line of double colorless energy up to 4 because not only is Lanturn going to hit harder with it, but Torterra can utilize it for both of its attacks. I like the 2 rainbow energy in case you need to attack with Celebi Prime. This will pretty much only be if you're facing a deck that's all stage 1 or stage 2s, no Reshiram's or Zekarum's or any other very powerful basics. Since you run the rainbow energy, I think you'll be safe decreasing your line of lightning down to 1 or 2. That should reduce your overall energy count and leave you a little more room for some trainers and supporters. You have 3 Dual Ball in the deck to search out for basic Pokemon. If you have any Pokemon Collector, I would recommend exchanging those instead, but depending on what you have, Dual Ball can be a good substitution. You also run 3 plus power, which I think is excellent, since Torterra can heal more damage depending on how much it puts out. You run 2 switch, which again is a great idea because a lot of these attackers are very heavy and have a very high retreat cost. Since you run 2 stage 2 lines, you have 3 rare candy in the deck, which is great. You also have 3 junk arm to reutilize the rare candy, switches, dual balls, everything. I would highly recommend increasing your line of Pokemon communication to 3 so that you'll be able to easily swap out anything in your hand for what you really need. You run 4 Professor Oak's New Theory to refresh your hand. I would also recommend throwing in 1 Juniper just to get you a little bit bigger hand. I recommend 1 Flower Shop Lady in order to get some Pokemon and energy back into your deck late game if needed, as well as 1 Twins in case you need to come back from behind. Since you run a pretty high number of energy anyways, I'm not sure if you need the 2 Interviewers, but again, depending on how this deck is running for you, you might want to keep it in. I would also throw in 2, maybe 3 Pokemon Reversals, or when it's released, Pokemon Catchers, so you can drag up something from your opponent's bench for an easy knockout. In order to make room for these changes, I would recommend dropping the 2 Super Scoop Up. It's a flippy card anyways, and because you're already running several tanked Pokemon, it's going to be very difficult to set those back up pretty fast. Those are all the suggestions I have, so if anyone else would like their deck reviewed, just PM me with a deck list to be considered for a video review. If you're not chosen for a video review, you'll automatically get a blog review, or you can just request a blog review for immediate 2 to 3 day feedback. Thanks for watching!